When I talked to you a little bit, there was a speaker that Sherm had promoted who had also, he had been a speaker in regard to civil, was it in the case last year, wanted to include language LGBT, sexual orientation, gender identity in the language for a law going through, I believe it was Utah.
Okay.
For anti-discrimination in employment. And this individual leads a national organization when it comes to civility in the workplace, and going to talk about civility. And it seems like this seems to be a common denominator that always comes back. And from an HR colleague, from a legal individual, and for somebody that works in the belonging space, I feel like there are times I'm trapped in this alone state, feeling like, I know y'all see this, right? You see this, right? Like, am I the only one that sees this? And so in this law, what he did not want to include the language of LGBT, sexual orientation, gender identity, until there was a compromise that the LGBT group could meet with the religious freedom liberty group and come to a compromise first.
How do you compromise on who you are?
Well, then he would put his stamp of approval on with his vote to include sexual orientation, gender identity. Now, I know, and you know, that there's an indoctrinated fundamental religious bias in that decision. That is a conscious decision based on a very dangerous bias. And I often tell people, when you say spot out, I can spot out this or that individual when I feel, and I do my best not to go to do more post-trauma care. I'm like, am I really hearing this? But I will hear things that where that religious or that fundamental religious bias creeps into the workplace, such as this, where I then ask and try to explain to people, LGBT is a moral dilemma for a sad portion of our leaders in organizations.
Yes.
How do we have that conversation with HR in the bias space? It's always going to be this fight. And that's what I was trying to explain with Sherm at the time with this individual. Like, listen, your action voted against us still. We're still a moral dilemma. And until we can break through that moral dilemma of how you see us, where is our space for full inclusion?
Well, you know that I'm on your side here, right? Like,
but that's shit that nobody wants to talk about.
Right. Well, let me say back.
Yeah.
Prior to 1964, I could say it was against my religion to work next to a Black person. And we did away with that in 1964.
Yeah.
With Title VII. We got rid of that at that point in time. This is just the same argument, a little bit more sophisticated, a little bit more because they practiced it for a while, to say, because of who you love, I'm going to value you less in our organization, or I don't want to see you in our organization. Now, I celebrated the Bostock decision so much that I had to come out as straight to some of my friends, because I was so excited that this was going to be a protection from coast to coast, because it was one where when I
celebrated so bad they thought you were gay.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I had the flags out. I made the cake. Like, I made a rainbow cake. Like, I was all in. Like, I'm like, woo!
You're adorable. I'm coming up.
Yes. I celebrated that really hard.
Okay.
So I had to come out as straight because some of my friends were like, what? And I'm like, no. Still straight. Just so happy that this decision. And, Minnesota has had gender identity and sexual orientation protections for a while, much longer than the federal government has. But I would go to a state where that protection didn't exist and have to take it off of my slide. I was like, that's just seems wrong. Like Patrick and Max are getting flirty and they commenting on each other's bums. Like that should still be an example as to whether or not that's harassment, regardless of whether I'm in Minnesota or if I am in North or South Dakota. Like that shouldn't matter. And so I was so excited about the decision because it made my friends feel seen. It made them feel valued. And I wanted to value them that way because I didn't want to lose that example. And that seems like I only cared about it for my training. I don't. But it was like, why do I have to take this off? Because this state doesn't protect it. So like I wanted that protection to exist. And I think the religion piece of it makes it so your religion is more important than who I love. And that is a problem because if we go to the fundamentals of every religion, it is, love thy neighbor as a universal truth. So why is your religion more important than that?